to Philosopher Rock. In this episode, Brian is talking to the members of Wondelone. I think you're going to enjoy this one. Don't forget, you can find more episodes of Philosopher Rock at likeflintradio.com. That's likeflintradio.com. Just go there and hit the Philosopher Rock page button. Also, you can find us on YouTube at Philosopher Rock 2020. That's Philosopher Rock 2020. If you want to contact us, you can email us at philosopherrock@gmail.com. That's philosopherrock@gmail.com. Okay, now let's go to Brian and Wondelone.
Hey, this is James Brown from Jeff Tape Band. You're listening to Philosopher Rock.
Welcome to another episode of Philosopher Rock. I am Brian, your host for this episode. Today we're talking with Alan and Tyler of Wondelone. They are a progressive metal band from my own home state of Ohio. They are from the city of Columbus. And today the purpose of this interview is not only to discuss their approach to writing and recording, but it's also to talk a little bit about inspiration of lyrics and the use of literature and fiction in lyrics, especially as it concerns concept albums, which their first release, full-length release, Treadle Loom, is indeed a concept album, and quite a fantastic one at that. And as we get into the interview, we'll take a little listen to some snippets of some of the songs that we mentioned, as well as a sneak preview of their new single that is coming out very shortly. And so please join me in welcoming the guys from Wondelone. I hope you enjoy this interview. So I'd like to welcome Tyler and Alan to the show. Thanks, guys, for being on Philosopher Rock.
Thank you very much.
Brian. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's surreal. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. So let's start with Alan, the instruments that you play on the album. Well, Tyler is the drummer, and Alan, you're sort of like a man of all trades. You seem to play several different instruments. So tell me just a little bit about how you guys met and how you formed this group, whether it's a project or a band. You can flesh that out, and then just tell me a little bit about your roles individually in the band. Alan, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Wow, I kind of feel like you should probably start with, I call him Ty, but Tyler.
I'll call him Ty if he's cool with that.
I don't know. His professional name might be Tyler. So
Yeah.
yeah, like Tyler and I, we played music together in a worship band at a local church, and we come from very diverse backgrounds. I'm a keyboardist. And love the fact that through sample libraries, I can pretty much play a lot of the instruments.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we originally started this project, we intended to just produce a demo, and I think that was Tyler's approach to this. And I think once we started digging in a little bit, I think both of us like quality work, so it evolved to being more than a demo. And I'm like, you know what, let's release this for consumption. So I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, because I think our history of how we got here is equally as important as what we've just produced.
Sure.
But yeah, again, I'm a keyboard guy. I use the Native Instruments library. I forget what version I have, but it was a kind of an anniversary edition. And so I even had all the MIDI guitars, and I bought some really nice plugins for that.
Nice.
But as this evolved, yeah, we wanted to bring in some real musicians. So I think I've maybe given the impression that I'm the guitarist too. And even though I've written a lot of the guitar parts, I'm not the guitar guy.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few guitarists, actually. As I was writing down the names of everybody we've worked with, we've got, I think, 4 different guitarists on this. So, but anything, a piano, keyboard, strings. Originally, I had, all the bass lines and trying to think, or Hammond, all that stuff. Yeah, is me, and it is recorded MIDI. Although I tried not to quantize as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
There was some cleaning up post-production, but I tried to, play a lot of that as I could live.
Mm-hmm.
But I cut my teeth on a Korg M1 years ago and the native sequencer with that. And then I had an Alesis external sequencer. I think it was a Alesis M1. Also, it was close to that. And then I started with Logic Audio to do some of the infant tracks that these Wondelone songs became. And so yeah, I'm a MIDI guy and sequencer, and I love big orchestral things. So that's kind of why some of the music's pretty dense. But all right, Ty, go. Fill in the gaps there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right on. And I'll say, I actually knew Alan probably before he knew who I was, because before the church where we played on a worship team together, we went to just, by providence, we were at the same church before that even.
Wow.
Kind of the church that I grew up in. And I remember seeing Alan playing on that stage sometimes, playing the keyboard. And I was like, man, that guy's cool. That guy has some good stuff. And then we ended up together at the church he referenced, where we're actually playing on the worship team together. And we would joke around fairly regularly about, hey man, we're gonna form a prog band someday. And we kind of mess around in between songs while the guitarists and bassists are tuning, as they do.
Yep.
And we would make a little 20-30 second ditty or something, and that's funny because that 10 years or more later, here we are, and we actually kind of did do this prog project.
We really did. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I love the fact that it came together like that, especially something so substantial as the Wondelone album, from something that you guys kind of were. Sounds like you were kind of just like, yeah, one day we're gonna do this, and it actually came to fruition. The name Wondelone. So I'll be honest, as much of a C.S. Lewis fan as I am, I had to look it up at first to find out what it meant, but then it made sense to me why I didn't know it afterward, and I'll explain that in a minute if I remember. But tell us about the name, please.
Yeah, that's funny because, even the most hardcore C.S. Lewis fans might or probably don't know that word or remember reading it, because it's actually a hapax legomena, which is a term that only appears once ever. So the word Wondelone comes up in C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy, specifically the first book, which is Out of the Silent Planet.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, he invented a language, not to the degree that Tolkien, his friend, did, but he did still invent, this language he called Old Solar. And it's a language spoken by everyone in that universe except for Earth, because Earth was the planet that had fallen and lost the ability to speak it. It's kind of like a Adamic language. Okay. Kind of meaning, a creation language. Mm-hmm. So in that book, they're basically they are on Mars. It goes by a different name in that book. But one of the races there speaks that language, and they bring up that word Wondelone, and it means to long or yearn or desire. And that really struck a chord with me on a couple of levels. First of all, I just probably try to be hyper unique, like to a fault. So I wanted a really unique name for this project. And then also a meaningful name. And I feel like the idea of longing just is really, I don't know, it's just one of the kind of defining emotions of my life. And Lewis, more than really anyone I've ever heard or read, captures that idea in his writing. He talks about it a lot. You've both probably heard this, but the famous quote from Mere Christianity where he says, "If I find in myself desires which nothing in this world can satisfy, the only logical explanation is that I was made for another world." And kind of implicitly in that statement is the idea of, longing for that other world. So yeah, that struck a chord when I read that and, thought about, I also thought it just sounded like a cool, rock or metal band name.
Yeah, totally. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I got to tell this. So you asked about how we collaborated. So we used Google Drive for probably 90% of it. Okay. And I remember we put a folder in there for band names. And that name, if we did have any others in that doc in that folder, I don't remember what they were because that name just stuck pretty early on. That was pretty cool how that came to be.
Yeah. So I would say that, I agree with you that I'm always looking for a name that is unique. So I love words. Just my wife sometimes will make fun of me because she's like, "You don't even know what that means," or "You just wanted to say that word." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I did because now you know what it is." And at one point I didn't, and it's a cool word. But so it's really difficult these days to try to find a unique band name. And then, doubly, like you said, one that's meaningful, especially to me, or to, hopefully to others, once the name gets, out there. But when you were quoting that line from Mere Christianity, I got goosebumps because it's just, that book is the first Lewis book that I read. And I was just really, honestly, that was when my life took a sharp turn to becoming a Christian, a real Christian, not just one in name. And I mean, he does talk a lot about longing and the fact that, there's something that we're all looking for, something that's missing, something that's wrong. And for those of us who know Christ, I mean, we know what that is, that it's Christ. But you guys have done a lot of really cool things with this album. So you've incorporated a lot of fiction into the lyrics, into the concept, if I can call it that, of the new full length, the newer full length that you guys have released. I know we're going to talk a little bit about you're working on some more material at the moment. So you guys are not just the casual lyricists who happen upon a theme or something in literature that you capitalize on. You guys, somebody in the band is definitely well read because not only do you use terms that are not necessarily unique, but probably unique in songs, where in the universe of, the almost infinite universe of music that's out there, what I hear the word Euryclodon, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's another word I had to look up, So I love the fact that you guys are you're able to merge these things together. So tell me a little bit about where your inspiration comes from for the lyrics of the current album that's out. And I can admit some more ignorance in the fact that I don't know the story of Moby Dick. You guys have inspired me to look it up. So it's on my reading list now, but tell me a little bit about how that became, at least in part, the theme for that album.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So I was inspired initially by working with one of my good friends, Cam, who actually plays a guitar and kind of co-wrote Euroclydon. But he, years ago, probably 4 years ago, he and I were playing some music that he was writing, and it was inspired and based on Dante's Inferno. And I think it was like 2 or 3 albums worth of ideas. And I was just so in awe of how cool that idea was.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was, I think, going back through Moby Dick, because I've kind of made it a habit to go through it once a year. And I will say it is daunting, and I have listened to it more times than I've read it. I much prefer listening to it because Herman Melville, he just seemed like one of those guys who just wanted everyone to know he was probably the smartest guy in the room. I don't know. He just strikes me as that, because some of his sentences are just so dense and full of references that no one would ever understand unless you had, an annotated version. So anyway, I was going back through that, I think, listening to it, and I was just like, man, I want there to be a Moby Dick concept album. I've always had a fascination for the ocean, and I think you connect with this, Brian, because with your work with your band Acrolith, which people should definitely check out if they have not already, I feel like there's a lot of ocean and sea themes with your album Uncharted and Elysium.
Yeah.
So I think that we're kind of synced up there.
It's funny, when I started listening to, it was like so kindred. I was like, we use some of the same words and some of the same themes, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And speaking of, I'm right there with you about, I love words. I love learning words. Yeah. Your Acrolith album title, Elysium, I had never heard that. And that was super cool to learn that that's I guess when a ship or some kind of vessel strikes a object or a stationary object. So I thought that was super cool. But anyway, back to kind of the inspiration of the concept. Yeah, there's just so many interesting ideas and references in that book, and it kind of defies genre almost. I mean, some of it's like, just standard novel, some of it's like a play. One chapter is literally like a science book. It's called Cetology. It's basically just like a chapter from a science book. And that just appealed to me so much. And then on top of that, there's so many biblical and spiritual references. I mean, Melville was like steeped in the Bible. I think he was raised like hardcore Presbyterian Calvinist, and that just comes through his writing. I think at best he was a skeptic. I don't know too much of his personal history, but there's just so many biblical connections. So all of that kind of stood out to me as well. And then I kind of had the idea to almost write the lyrics for an album as if I were some anonymous passenger or deckhand on that ship, seeing those events, kind of interpreting them through my own eyes, which inevitably comes out as, or sifts through a Christian worldview. I should also say with this concept, I didn't attempt to retell all of Moby Dick. I mean, that just would not be possible. But there's just some threads that really, like, just threads of mystery and adventure, and the pride of Ahab and the charisma of Ahab and his revenge and his projection of that on God. Just all really appealed to me, and it just kind of took on a life of its own.
I renounce all sleep until I get what's mine. You escape philosophers and enemies of Satan. See the sunrise untamed, but still I see your shadows casting your escape. So add to me by numbers as I chase you in your way. All I want is some peace and rest. From afar I descry your
I think it's important to just shine a light on the fact that not only is the music incredible, it's just incredibly well written. To me, it's a very difficult task. Not that I necessarily have ever attained to it, but it's a difficult task to write a complicated piece of music that is also catchy or accessible to the listener, and then to be able to marry the lyrics with that music in a way that is appealing, but also draws the listener in. I mean, because there's such a, I would consider you guys' music as what my guitarist and I have coined the term like high-minded. It's not just your average street lyrics, just about, relationships and, girls and whatever. There's deeper meanings. There's layers of meanings, just like there is in scripture and the Bible, there's layers. There's even a place for the listener, I think, and you can tell me if you, I guess you can't disagree with it because it's a subjective statement, but for the listener to sort of like, be drawn in and even come to their own conclusions about some of the things that are going on. It's basically kind of like an adventure set to music. Like I said, the music is very high caliber, and the lyrics are right on point with that. The idea of using literary works, was it something that you had planned on? Is it true that some of the lyrics were actually written before the music, like the music was written to match the lyrics? Is that true?
You want to take that one out?
Yeah, so I've been listening to Ty speak about all this, and just as, I hope you and your listeners, as they listen to that, they're inspired by just what he said and how he packaged all that. And so as he's laying all this out to me of a finished work, like, Ty, is there any, lyrically, was there anything that wasn't finished before you said, hey, would you be interested? Or, however that conversation went, it was done, right?
Yeah, I think maybe we added one after, but it was at least 90% done before we even, played a note, I think.
Yeah. So I'm an IT engineer by trade, and so we solve problems, right? And so when Ty came with this music problem, of course, sign me up. It's clear we both love music, and I put here in the notes that I just wanted to say, like, I love when a song starts somewhere and you're on a journey and you end up somewhere different. And so I think that came out in our music.
Oh,
too.
for
It's
sure.
not
Yeah.
just 1-4-5 stuff and, a catchy little tag phrase that we sing a few times. And like, we really were intentional about taking you somewhere. And so as Ty's explaining his vision, and trust me, I've tried to read it all the way through multiple. I think I attempted 4 different times, both audio book and reading, and I have yet to finish. I have even uploaded. I've gone to either Chat GPT or Copilot and said, okay, just give me a couple sentences about every chapter. And so I guess I've read it that way. But it's deep, and I think it's really cool that Ty loves creative work like that enough that he wrote about it, and then he came and said, hey, you interested in this? And yes, I had a virtual file drawer that I had put songs away in, and I had an opportunity to blow the dust off of those. And so some of this is charted territory. We just married it all up. And I was thinking today, Ty, that like we're getting to some uncharted territory where it's a blank canvas that we're about to embark upon, which is really cool too. But yeah, so it was Ty's inspiration, and some of the songs that I already had. Obviously, they had to be retrofitted to make it work. But when Ty would say, "Okay, here's kind of the vibe or the feel of the scene or this person or this scenario," and that drove what sound choices and what the mood of the song was and what other instrumentation we wanted to bring in. And I was trying to think of some of the early bands. I think that was one of the questions, and maybe this is jumping ahead. You asked about what are some of your inspirations and some of the
definitely
bands that you listen to. I love it when bands incorporate other instrumentation into their music, and I thought of, I mean, some of this might show my age, but with Kansas and their violinist.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I like Neil Morse and how he used an English horn on, I think the album's 5.
Yeah.
Or what's another song I was thinking about? I really liked this Christian Irish rock band called Iona.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, whether it was a tin whistle or a bagpipe, and they're doing runs with a bagpipe, with a metal, with a pretty heavy guitar, and so that stuff kind of all played a role in how we eventually pulled in a harpist and an English. I had to have a couple songs that had an English horn player in it.
Yeah.
We have a French horn player on. I think it was on Euroclydon and Avast.
Yeah.
I love other instruments and just mixing it all up. And it was kind of a marrying of finished work that I had with Ty's finished work. And then, as we would write each section, okay, I'm going to do a verse and a chorus of this one, I would upload it, and he would play, to his iPhone, the track back. And then I was able to, import that into the track. And that way we had the full length of the song, so that on recording day, I'm just removing his tracks and giving him the click, and he's playing along with pretty close to the final take of, some of the instrumentation and arrangements that I had. It was a really cool process.
Yeah.
I think back to, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
21 Pilots, I think it's their song, Stressed Out maybe, and that was during COVID, and they were passing back and forth the thumb drive.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool that, obviously we didn't have to pass a drive back and forth, whether it was next door or through the mail. But, we were able to upload that to the drive, and, within minutes or seconds. I think in that process, I'm out here in the country, and they put fiber in out here to the country. So I was downloading, gigs quick, like in, less than a minute.
Yeah.
And so, it was a really cool process.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, go for it.
I was just going to kind of emphasize the point you made too, Brian, that like, I'm still blown away by the fact that Alan was working with these lyrics. He was working with lyrics that were already written and importing those into music. And it just blew my mind, because like he did not change words. I mean, he was like really adamant about, I want this to be what you wrote. And I was just blown away by how he's taking words and not only fitting them in really interesting ways to the music, but also, like you said, Brian, like getting the correct emotion out of them too for every part of the album. Just like the emotion in the vocals was perfectly matched to the lyrics. So yeah, I'm still blown away by that.
So I can't really speak to what your intended emotions were for the album, like for the lyrical pieces, but I can tell you that I'm definitely moved by the emotive inflections and things that are in some of the lyrics. There's just certain parts where I'm like, it's kind of like, I hate to compare people to other people because maybe they don't want to sound like them, so I won't use anybody in particular, but there are certain singers who, based on what song they're singing, they don't even sound like the same singer necessarily, just because they're that good. Like they're able to kind of, like you would with an instrument, which the voice is an instrument, you're able to attenuate or manipulate that instrument to fit its intended purpose. And there are some spots on the album where I'm just like, man, it's very moving vocally, and I really love it, and it just fits the lyrics. Like, there's certain lyrics that you just don't want to sing half-hearted. There's certain lyrics that require less emotion depending on what you're trying to get across. And man, you guys nailed it. I mean, I just chalk that up to
great feedback.
I just chalk that up to being stroke of genius. It's probably just rolls off easy for you guys. I mean, just based on the rest of the stuff on the album, I'm like these guys just got talent in their fingertips. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like struggling to get this done. I don't feel like, and because you just don't write that level of musicianship unless you've already got the chops. So tell me a little bit about how you got your chops. So, I mean, did you guys, were you classically trained, Alan? It sounds like maybe you've got some classical training. And then Tyler, were you guys playing in any other bands? How long have you been playing? Like, I know you didn't just wake up, last year and roll out of bed and decide I'm going to play keyboards, If you did, then man, it's even more impressive. So give me a little background about like your history and how you got where you are in your abilities.
Ty, I'll let you start first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started playing drums. I'm guessing around the age of like 12 or 13. And I started playing because my older brother started playing in a band, and it really inspired me. I was like, man, that's really cool. So I started just, tapping around on the drum set when he wasn't. And then, he showed me some stuff too. So essentially I'm self-taught. I never took lessons, although, with technology nowadays, like I've looked up plenty of things in YouTube, like how did this drummer do this thing?
Sure. Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I feel like I just started gravitating towards listening to just really good drummers. Like Danny Carey with Tool was probably the first one where my mind was just blown, and I was just like, you can do that with drums. And then Neil Peart, of course.
Oh yeah.
He was probably right up there too, and it was just like, man, I just fell in love with drums. And then in my senior year of high school, I started playing in a band with my best friend and my brother, who could also play bass, and another friend. And we just started playing around. We ended up playing like an Ohio high school battle of the bands.
Oh, cool.
And like a county battle of the bands. Yeah, we did some school rallies and stuff, and then we played for a few years after high school. And that was all just for fun. That's really my only band experience other than playing on worship teams at churches.
Okay.
Not just. Yeah, so I was the kid that, like, I grew up in the house with a piano, and one day I was listening to the radio, and I was going in. I think it was probably a hymn first, and the hymn was in my mind from Sunday to one day later in the week, and I learned the hymn. I'm sure it was just one finger, but it was recognizable enough that my mom came in and said, "What did you just do?" And of course I played it for her, and she was like, "Okay, there's something different here." Now, I wish I was a savant. Of course, I might not be able to be on this interview because I couldn't communicate clearly, but some of it was natural, a God gift given.
Sure.
And then I did take some piano lessons when I was younger, and I remember being at like baseball practice, and I had to tell the coach I had to leave early because I had to get a piano lesson, and how tragic that was, or the trauma I experienced because the other members of the team thought that was funny. So it got the best of me, and I just said I quit. So I stepped away from it for a while, but I still would like hear pop or top 40 stuff on the radio and still play it. And I started playing, chords at that point and a little bass line with it. And then there actually was band in there somewhere in the middle school, high school years. Mm-hmm. I even did marching band, believe it or not. I was either playing cross country or baseball. And again, still as a freshman in high school, I had to tell my teammates, I got to go to band practice. And then, so I went away to college, quit playing. Didn't have anything to play on at that point. And I remember somebody had just a little tiny, it was probably a little Casio keyboard in the college dorm, and I piddled around on that a little bit. I was like, wow, this is fun. And I think I would occasionally go to the local music store and play a little bit. Well, I started dating a girl who was, she was a Christian. I grew up in the church. I wasn't a Christian at the time. And we dated long enough that at some point she said, hey, why don't you audition for a keyboard in a band? I'm like, what? In a Christian band? Really? And so I did, and her dad rented I think it was a Roland keyboard, and, you know, I had already started really enjoying these extra sounds you could get out of a electronic keyboard. And of course I was loving it, and got the gig. And then I think it was in that band for probably a year at that point, and the bass player was giving his testimony, and I don't know, man, the light just came on, like my friend is talking on behalf of God to me. And it was an amazing opportunity. I don't know that I'd recommend that you bring in an unsaved person to your Christian band, but God used it, and he woke me up, and I ended up playing with them for another couple years, and we wrote some really fun tunes. And that's when the composing stuff started, where we were doing covers, but I really enjoyed actually being a part of the process of like coming up with some new stuff. And at the time we had a really good drummer. He was a little bit older than the rest of us, but he loved the double bass, and he was the first one that told me about Dream Theater. And we went, I still remember this day. We went and got in his truck. Mind was blown. Now I had some reference, like I said, I loved Kansas, and trying to think, there was a band I really liked in the 80s called Saga.
Oh yeah, I love those guys. They're still around.
Saga? Oh yeah,
they're still around.
Yeah, I pull them up every now and then. And to hear that keyboard sound like a guitar somewhat. And I remember I would just rewind and listen to that, and rewind and listen to that. I'm like, is that even humanly possible? And it was just captivating, and wanted to kind of do some stuff like that. So we started doing a couple little odd time songs. It's funny because, think about that. You got a group that's, typically used to worship in 4/4 and slower, and we're doing some pretty heavy stuff with either 7/8 or 3/4 bars. And it was fun for us. I'm sure most of the audience was like, what is that? I can't even tap my toe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was where the passion for kind of the prog stuff started. And then, and then when Ty and I eventually down the road, I mean, I had been in a couple other bands and worked on some projects with some other guys, but some of the stuff that Ty mentioned earlier that we were noodling around with before worship was actually some of the songs that are on this album, and he didn't realize it yet. And I guess I didn't realize it yet either. But that's kind of where like a lot of that comes from, the source from, and just my passion for it. And I know it's not for everybody. Ty and I joke, like, my family's not fans, and I don't know how many prog rockers, their families are fans. I think Ty has a fan or two in his household. But I think I'll say this and then I'll shut up. But I was thinking, again, making notes of points to say, and I think about how God, whether it's the macro and the stuff in the universe that we can't see, don't see, may never see, and all the way down to the micro and the things that he creates that are impossible for the eye to see. I feel like even if I don't have any fans, which I hope there are some.
Well, you got one because you're talking to him.
Well, Ty says things every now and then, so yeah. But if it's just for my good pleasure, that's fine, because that's where that comes from, and I love it so much that compliments are great, but producing the work that I'm happy with and a part of, it's okay, because I know where the gift comes from, and if it's anything good, it's not from me, and if it's anything bad, that's my stuff.
Oh man, I've said that so many times. Yeah, I mean, anyways,
that was a lot of words, but
no, I mean, we were created in God's image, and I think that it's in our nature to create. So, I totally understand what you mean when you say that even if nobody else gets it or nobody else necessarily likes it, you're satisfied with it. And I think at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, like, we're like God in that way, in the sense that, you know, it's something that is in our nature to do. And I'm thinking that I'm saying this now, but I may change my mind at some point. But there's nothing that I do create that, as far as certainly music, that I don't have a desire to share, and I think that's godly as well. I mean, he wants to share himself with us, which is the greatest gift. And
absolutely,
yeah. And but I think that it's not like I'm looking for people's approval in my music, because I definitely am open to critique and things like that. But I think I just want to enjoy with other people. So, like, hey, check this out. This is something that I came up with. What do you think? Do you like it too? You know, because I just want that sense of sharing something that we can all enjoy. And, you know, like you, I would be the first to say it doesn't originate with me. I'm just the vessel to, you know, convey this. But I mean, even just today when I was working on something, an idea came to me, and it was like the cherry on top. And I was like, dude, that came from God. Like, I was not thinking about that earlier at all. So yeah, I mean, speaking of faith, sorry, Ty, did you want to say anything regarding that topic? I mean, before I slightly shift.
No, I just think you hit on another kind of impactful C.S. Lewis thought in my life there, where he talked about joy is only complete when it's shared. And I totally agree with you on that. Hearing your music, doing this music with Alan, even, you know, just between each other, like, there's so much joy in sharing that. Yeah. And that's a really good point on how that kind of images God.
Yeah. I mean, it is a communal thing.
It is. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got to add something here too. So because I had been working on the vocal lines with the music, the original intent was not for me to sing. I wouldn't say I'm a singer. I have done backup, but I typically have not been the front man. But we had a couple opportunities we were pursuing, and stars didn't align. Mm-hmm. And I forget the actual conversation we had, Ty, but it was kind of like by default. They were my melody lines and my arrangement, and tag, that was it.
And I was kind of slowly working on you too over time, because I kind of knew you were the right person for it, but you didn't really want to be that person. And I put a little hint here and there, like, man, nobody's going to be able to do this as good as you just did it.
It's kind of cool how it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the story of my life, of like, hey, I don't want to do this, but I can't find anybody else that really wants to do whatever it is. So it's like, you know, it's not about abilities, because I've found plenty of people who have great abilities. It's just a matter of, like you said, kind of like the stars align. Can you do this? Can you do it when we need it? Are you even interested in it?
Yeah, we had that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and then, you know, there's the whole compatibility issue. It's like, you know, sure, I could get somebody who can wail, but am I going to be able to, like, work with them? Because, you know, if our personalities don't align, or if our visions don't align, or if our, you know, just creativity, you know, it can be something that you can bounce ideas back and forth off of each other. But I mean, I'm telling you, you know, I'm sure you guys know just as well as I do, there are people out there who, when you come to them with an idea that they don't see a problem with, they'll create a problem so that they can fix that problem. And it's like, you know, some people are just difficult to work with because they want to have more input than just what's necessary, I guess.
Right.
So on the topic of faith and in your music and in your lyrics, my brother-in-law Eric and I had done an interview. I was on his podcast not too long ago. We were talking about the idea of being labeled a Christian band, and even though we agreed that you can be Christians in a band, obviously, would you guys consider your band to be a Christian band? And if so, why? If not, why? And then also, do you, aside from the already stated intention of just enjoying the music that you're writing and recording, is there any I'm sure it's in the back of your mind, as it is with any Christian, that they want people to be led to Christ through anything that we do, any of our behaviors or speech or whatever. How much of it do you guys, if at all, intend for your music to be evangelistic, if I phrased that sentence correctly?
Yeah, I definitely consider us a Christian band. Even if you look at our logo, there's a cross in the O of Wondelone, or if you see our little logo icon or symbol, that cross is there again, and then there's a little blood drop,
right,
kind of dripping into an ocean. So even down to that detail, that was always the intention. I was kind of inspired just to model a project after the band Theocracy. I just, at least seeing what they did from a distance, I really appreciated how they really seem to emphasize putting out good music. I would say that their music is more straightforward Christian, just much more straightforward in the lyrics, but putting out really good music. And then they might play 3 festivals like every couple of years. So
right.
I liked that idea of like a band just putting out really good, prog rock, hard rock type stuff. And that's kind of the focus. And then not having a life upended by touring all the time. Not that we ever intended on touring all the time, but I saw what they were doing and I thought that was super cool. So that was kind of the model for this. But as Alan has alluded to, even just the gifts that God has given us, we seek to glorify him with those. And then we seek to proclaim his truth in the lyrics. It's not praise and worship music, but, I'm trying to write things, and also oftentimes it's, the darker side of, the effects of sin, or, the idea, again, of a longing placed in us, like Proverbs says about God placing eternity in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I'd say, I was thinking this, and I'd say there is, so with this concept, there's kind of guardrails in place, because I'm kind of trying to follow the threads or storylines of Moby Dick, or at least certain storylines.
Right.
But then interpreting some of those stories through, whereas I think Melville had a skeptical perspective he was applying, I was trying to take these stories and threads that meant a lot to me and kind of filter them through a actual biblical worldview. So that certainly comes up. I would say there's kind of like an indirect evangelistic aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just put this little breadcrumb out there. So the very end of Avast is supposed to kind of shift perspectives to Jesus speaking, and it's supposed to kind of parallel Matthew 23:37, where Jesus says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often would I have gathered your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing." So that's a little breadcrumb if anybody wants to make it through the whole album. But yeah, I listened to that podcast you did with your brother-in-law Eric on the Sower podcast, and I think that was really well done. I think you put the word.
Yeah, I agree.
My lyrical writing philosophy, because it's not something that I ever thought of. I didn't have a mission statement of this is how I want to write lyrics. I just wrote what I found to be compelling, and it just kind of naturally came out with a lot of Bible references and philosophy and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's in our hearts that comes out, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
And you said something right there that a minute ago that inspired another thought that I had never even considered before. So I'll just share it right now. Was that I personally, and I think most people, certainly non-believers, unregenerate people who don't know Jesus, I think they can resonate more or identify more with the concepts of longing or the dark side of things. They may not, than they can with like worship music. So, I have no problem with worship music. It's just that I don't typically listen to that when I'm driving in the car. Like 75% of the time I'm listening to things that are not quote unquote worship music, 4/4, just, constant refrains of, the same, nothing wrong with the lyrics. It's just that, I feel like one of the better ways that we might be able to grab people, and grab their attention is to talk about the brokenness, the longing, like you said, like the darker themes, because I think they're acutely aware of that, where they may just outright reject the idea of, praising God, so, yeah, that what you said and just brought up that thought in my mind. I never really thought about it from that perspective, but, yeah, and I would consider you, you've seen the interview with my brother-in-law, so whether you guys want to be called a Christian band or not, it doesn't matter to me. I know you're Christians in a band, and that's enough for, that's one more like, icing on the cake type thing, because I'm sure I would have loved your music already if he hadn't showed it to me and not told me that you guys are Christians. But, as a Christian, the first thing that I'm going to do when somebody says, hey, you should check out this Christian band, I'm like, cool, they're like-minded. I'm probably going to, I've already got an in with them. I've already got something that I'm, that we agree upon. And, go ahead.
So, yeah, I just want to say during some of the writing process, there was worship happening. I mean, there were many times where I'd send, something that I was working on to Ty, and I'd just broken, and it was bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am a Jesus follower. I have to give an account someday of how I've led my family, and how, the scriptures are clear about, every word that we speak, we're going to be accountable for. So, I was a believer during the Promise Keeper wave.
Mm-hmm.
And so even back then, just living a life of integrity and surrounded by men, iron sharpening iron. I mean, it's critical. And, I know Ty well enough, and my family could attest, like, I want to finish well.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we get to, we're adopted, we're in the family, and we get to do this music thing, and it's just a centerpiece for us to be able to say where this came from, or like I said, with all the themes woven into this book that, are, they have eternal themes, or eternal focus. And so, yeah, we're Jesus followers first. It just happens to get the opportunity to make this kind of music, and I definitely don't want to ever forsake my first love. He gives me breath, and all these things come from him. So whether you want to call us a Christian band or just Jesus followers that do inspired music, doesn't matter to me. It's all in the same.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I mean, I can, identify with that, on our first album, there were parts where it was like, I was recording, and then when I got done, exhausted, I listened to it the next day. I was like, wow, like that was beyond my ability to do. So, that came from somewhere else. That came from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Yeah. There were lyrical parts like that where I was never a lyric writer. This was really my first attempt at writing lyrics, and
that's
like
crazy.
Alan was saying with those eternal themes, like a lot of it was me kind of writing to myself. Like Ahab is kind of a case study in pride, and I was like, it was basically me writing like, don't be Ahab, and it just came out in lyrical fashion.
Yeah. Hey, I just thought of something too, based on what you just said there. We have a song called "You Know Me," and that was one that I had put in a file drawer, and there was a moment I was going through, and that was kind of a worshipful prayer moment for me. And Ty was kind enough. Now, I don't know if that's the one that you said was kind of written afterwards, or you modified it to incorporate the title. But that was a very personal, intimate time for me, and it was cool how God took that prayer and wove that into what Ty was envisioning. It's pretty cool,
right? Because your track was an instrumental track, and your file name for it was "You Know Me."
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I wanted to incorporate the way you titled that file into the song, so that was the one, at least one that came after the fact.
And I love that, because not only do I love that song, but I totally identify with it lyrically, and it's a testimony to, I think. So I love albums where you've got like, in a good play, or in a good book, or in a good, in a good rock album, you have these sort of like different scenes, and that song takes you to like a different place than the rest of some of the other songs do, and I love that. Like there's the greatest bands do stuff like that. Like I love old Journey albums, like the before what's his name was in the band, the singer that everybody loves. But anyway, their first like 4 albums are just like really
Back
cool.
to Steve Perry.
Yeah, thank you. And and they'll have this like really deep like proggy thing, and they're doing all this really wild stuff, and then they'll have this song that's just like this really uplifting or really heartfelt kind of like melodic, and I'm just like, wow, like to go from one to the other. You guys do that, and I love that, because you guys mix in different styles. There's I'll tell you, the thing that really grabbed me the hardest because it was probably the first song that I listened to, but in the Philosopher, where the sort of like a cappella break comes, and it's like the time changes so drastically, and to be able to
let him go.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Man, that's so awesome.
Thank you.
Let him go, let him go, let him go, let him go, let escape philosophers, enemies are safe. Oh, see the sun bright, untamed. Till I see your shadows, casting your escape. Oh, enter me by numbers as I chase you in your wake. All I want is some peace and rest. From afar I descry your jets. The world's still the same, there's just less in it. There's just less in it.
And to be able to pull off like an abrupt time change like that, but then have like this really cool lyric tied to it and this really cool melody, because even though your music is of a style, you guys don't really sound like anybody else. And I think you may have, that may not have been the case if you would have, like, you know, brought in another singer or something like that. You know what I mean? Your voice is your voice, and it's awesome. And so, I mean,
thank you.
I consider you guys like one of the more original bands of your genre. That's why I'm like, people need to hear this album. And that's, you know, because there's so much out there, you know, the market, quote unquote, or just the internet, or, you know, the world is saturated with people who are talented, people who can shred on guitar, who can do all these things. But it's the ones that do it a little bit differently, you know, that really catches my attention personally. And so the album, which we haven't even named yet, Treadle Loom, that's the one that that just grabbed me, you know, and I love it. And I know that you guys are working on some new material. We're going to preview a little bit of that song in a little bit here. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions before we end, because we're getting about close to time here, to keep it, you know, at you know, something that's listenable, not to go too long. But do you guys have any other classic works of literature that you would maybe even consider using as themes, or going forward, do you guys even have a plan? It sounds like you said you're kind of like in uncharted territory now, which is awesome, because who knows what we're going to get, you know, if you guys are coming up with something completely unplanned. Do you guys have any kind of plan, or do you have any like aspirations for plans that you might want to do, especially as it may or may not, you know, involve like works of literature? Because, you know, I could see so many different like classic stories being told through music. What are your foreseeable plans?
Yeah, so
Lay it on him.
the song that you've hinted at, it continues. We actually consider it an epilogue to Treadle Loom.
Mm-hmm.
So it continues the Moby Dick, you know, themes, and then beyond that, I've kind of always envisioned what I've considered a saga. Not really a trilogy, because I think that implies 3 albums, and
Sure.
the next release is just a song. So I've considered it a saga where, Lord willing, you know, another full album is tied to Moby Dick still, but it's almost more of an introspective take on Treadle Loom. It's kind of hard to describe, but that has kind of been brewing for me for a few years, and I've had so many ideas, because really just the idea of concept albums, that's like my favorite thing. Like I pretty much, if something's a concept album, I'm gonna love it, because I just fall in love with the story that the band tells. And I've had ideas of I have an idea related to That Hideous Strength, which is the 3rd book in the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had other ideas. I have an idea that incorporates kind of a short story novella by J.R.R. Tolkien called The Smith of Wootton Major. And I even have an idea related to The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, but I mean, that's all kind of floating around in my head.
If I was the writer, it would be like Green Eggs and Ham or something. Just kidding. We have our folder structure. We've got songs out there. We've got little snippets in it. So it's like Ty said, Lord willing, it's coming.
Cool. Well, I for one am very anxious to hear it, and since I've already heard a snippet of what I'm going to play in this show, I can tell you it's great stuff. So there was some really interesting artwork associated with Treadle Loom, and just at a chance meeting the first time, and really the only time that Ty and I have ever met in person, he handed me this booklet that goes along with the album, the artwork. There's like individual artwork for each song, which I always just love. I mean, I'm an artist, I work in art, let's just put it that way, for my career. So I love artwork. I love to see people's conceptual, renderings of like the things that are in the songs, especially if the artist, the musician is like, this kind of captures what I'm envisioning. It gives me a better look into what they intended for me to see. So tell me a little bit about how that booklet came about, how the artwork came about, and if we can expect more of the same type of thing in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So same here. I've always been drawn to art. I just considered myself a doodler, really. I'm not great at art, at drawing or anything like that. But with each song, I felt like a scene or an image kind of came to me. And I would typically just kind of sketch it out, just a real rudimentary sketch. And I searched, across a number of months, I probably searched for hours for a freelance artist. I had a very specific style in mind, and I finally came across this guy named Brian Flores, freelance artist in Venezuela. He has a studio called Studio 3.2D, and he was just exactly what I wanted for that project. And I started sending him the little sketches, and he took it to the next level and then some with every single one of them. And then, I love physical media, especially like something that accompanies an album. So that was I wanted to do a CD or a vinyl, even those are so expensive. But to me, it was like, man, I want an artwork lyric book, and that was kind of the big goal. So eventually put that together with Brian, and that was just a super cool kind of added bonus to the album.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And like you, I love like just physical media, especially things that, coincide with the music. I'm a big vinyl collector guy, and it's like, I could put the CD in and that would be fine, but there's something just like cool about having a piece of vinyl, having the artwork at 12 inches by 12 inches to look at. I hate looking at artwork on an album cover that somebody intended to be seen and it be the size of a CD, which was, like I said, which is really cool. That you had a book to go along with it. So do you guys think that would be something you might continue to do for the upcoming releases?
Yeah, definitely. So I worked with that same artist for the art on this next song that we've been teasing, which is probably going to be out pretty soon whenever people start hearing this. So worked with him again. And I will say he also did, so our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/@Wondelone has, I think, 3 lyric videos right now. And this same artist, he took the artwork for those 3 particular songs and he animated scenes. So he did animations
really cool.
as well. And yeah, that's coming as well for this next song. And I have even already, I'll just say, I've already just kind of have the ball rolling on some future stuff as well. With that hopeful, Lord willing, second LP.
Very cool. Now, do you guys foresee yourselves as doing any live performances, or is this strictly a studio project, or is it sort of just like we'll see where it goes?
That is a great question. So I always loved doing live stuff. It's a fun vibe. As complex as these arrangements are, I don't know how we would even begin to pull that off. But I guess I personally am not opposed to it. We just would have to have a following and, the assurance that people are going to show up. We'd make everything else happen if we have that assurance. The problem is just how distributed our musicians are, and the caliber we would expect if we'd get some fill-ins. And I don't know. That's something we can pray about and obviously be in tune with what listeners want.
Right. Well, cool.
It would be a fun show, though. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'd
make it worth everybody's time for sure.
Oh no, I don't doubt that for 1 minute. So before we wind up, I just want to thank you guys again for taking the time to do this interview. I really want people to hear your music. I think I know it's amazing music. I know that you guys are passionate about it. That comes through. And I feel that passion. I resonate with that passion. And that's why I want you guys to be heard by more people. I also want you guys to keep making music. So, don't stop. Also, can you tell us, do you have any idea about when the new, will it just be the single, or like a new single, or you won't have the entire album done? You're going to do one song first, right?
Right. It's just it's tied to the first release, the Treadle Loom.
It's one long song, right?
Yeah. What's funny is Philosopher is 11/11, and when I sent it to Ty the other day, Igneous is 11/11 as well. And I'm like, wow, what are the odds? 2 songs, same album, same length.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Hopefully the same experience too.
Here's a sneak preview of Igneous from Wondelone.
Cut the cords that bind.
tell us where people can check out your music and any other media or merch that you guys have. You've already mentioned YouTube. I know you guys are on Bandcamp. So just, can we find you guys everywhere? Just give us the rundown of where people can hear you.
Yeah. So anywhere you find us, I try to put links for everything else. But we're streaming on all platforms. Wondelone. So just Wondelone. Our Bandcamp is wondelone.bandcamp.com. We're most active on Instagram. It's really not the only, but yeah, it's our most active social media page. So Instagram is wondelone.band. We have merch on the site. It's wondelone.printify.me. But again, if you find us at any of these links, you should be able to find us at the others.
Okay, great. And I'll put those links in the show notes for this as well. Ty and Alan, thank you so much. And I will be in touch and keep up the good work because I'm looking forward to hearing the next offerings from Wondelone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of Philosopher Rock. As our outro music, please enjoy another snippet of their new song, Igneous, from Wondelone.
Okay, well, listen to this. Just for grins for work today, I said, "Hey, I want Copilot to give me a joke about." I don't have all my prompts here, but I said, it's a podcast. It's a prog rock album made by Christians about Moby Dick. Give me a joke. And it says, podcast host. So your debut album is a Christian progressive rock retelling of Moby Dick. That's unique. Band leader, yeah, we call it the whale and the word. It's got 11 movements, 3 key changes, and 1 altar call. The host. And the inspiration? The singer says, we figured if God can calm the storm, he can handle a concept album with a 12-minute instrumental about harpoons. So I thought that was funny. I had to share it. Whether you keep it or not, who cares?
I'm leaving that in. That's
awesome. That was funny.
Just the fact of a song, a 12-minute long song about instrumental about harpoons. Yeah. How can an instrumental necessarily be about anything? But okay, there it is.
Here's another one. This one isn't quite as funny. It says, so your debut album is a progressive rock retelling of Moby Dick, and you're a Christian band. That's ambitious. The guitarist, yeah, we figured if Jonah could survive a whale, our drummer could survive a 17-minute solo. And the host says, in the title track, and the lead singer says, call me Ishmael, but make it worship.